Hello, I'm Justin Hill, prize-winning author and creator of Worlds of Words, and welcome to my Advent series 2023. And so far I've been sticking to the chronological order I wrote books in. And my first two books were travel logs, and they're about countries I was living in. And I'd increasingly come to find the travel log quite limiting as a writer. Essentially, you have to construct a narrator, which is in fact essentially yourself, Justin Hill character, who walks around being kind of amazed, bewildered, falling in love, whatever, as your narrative device. And I just found that quite limiting, and I really wanted to break free. And 29 years old, I came back to England. I did a master's at Lancaster University, and I had an idea for a novel. The idea originally had been kind of 100 Years of Solitude for China, set in China. And just before I left China, I was living in Hunan province at the time, and a man across the road died in our work unit. And the family set up a marquee for the wake, and the body was in the back, and the family were playing, sitting at the back. And other members of the family were playing cards, and it was raining because the sort of summer monsoons were hit. And one night they set up a band, and a band came, and a woman stood at the front of the marquee and sang out into the night. And I just thought, wow, it's the most extraordinary image. And I had an idea for a novel. And essentially my idea was a factory closes, a man dies, and it starts to rain. And that is essentially the opening scene of the Drink and Dream Teahouse. And this is the American version. This was my first novel. There's a lot to say about this. I don't know if I'm going to have time. It was something of an international hit. It got record-breaking advance for an unwritten novel. I was in the newspapers, had people phoning me up. I was a poor student. And suddenly an agent I'd never actually met in person was, phoning me up and giving me ridiculous numbers over the phone. So then there was a lot of pressure to finish that novel. But what I'd like to say here, I found it so liberating to be writing fiction. And in many ways, and people often say this, and it's very true, you can be much more truthful in fiction than you could in non-fiction. And I just, through, having been published, then failed to be published, and then started my novel by the age of 29, I threw the kitchen sink at this novel. In kitchen sink in terms of my personal feelings, I think, or things I wanted to express. Stuff had gone on in my life, and, we all have issues, especially in our 20s. And so it went into this novel, and it was a kind of terrifying experience. It was like falling in love for the first time. That novel, it took me 6 months to write, which was crazily short. I sold it within 3 months of starting. So the last 3 months were essentially finishing off a novel with an editor. And it dominated my life. It was so kind of obsessive. I couldn't go out without thinking, what happens here, what happens there. And so by the end, actually, as with those mad, intense love affairs, I was glad when it came to an end. Anyway, my first novel, The Drink and Dream Teahouse, and this is the American cover. This was translated into 15 languages, but I think the Americans got the best cover, like a kind of pop art of China. Anyway, so if you want to go back, I often think, actually, have I ever read anything better, or have I written anything better since? I don't know. I know the beginning off by heart, pretty much. For 2 weeks, exploding firecrackers shredded the winter gloom at Shyang No. 2 Space Rocket Factory. The 14th and last night was a lantern festival. Hopeful lovers carried their hearts in moth-skin lanterns, bobbing like hooked fish on the ends of long canes. A river of stars flowed through the night, the candles burned steadily down, and after midnight, solitary spirits wandered the streets with increasing desperation, searching for their perfect match, who might never come. And I wrote that first paragraph pretty much, and it stayed unchanged for the rest of the novel. Anyway, I could go on. If you have questions, you should ping them to me about any of the books, and I can do a video that catches up some of the questions.